Admiral Yi Sun-sin, hero's sacrifice or a general's final choice. Imagine a leader revered as a national hero, a strategic genius who never lost a single naval battle against a formidable invading force. His name echoes through history, synonymous with courage, unwavering loyalty, and unparalleled strategic brilliance. But what if the story of his final moments, the very culmination of his legendary life, contained a hidden question, a whisper of a different kind of ending? This is the profound inquiry we embark on today, delving into the extraordinary life and disputed death of Admiral Yi Sun-sin, Yi Sun-shin, a figure so monumental in Korean history that his very name evokes a collective sense of pride and a deep well of national sentiment. We will journey back to the crucible of the Imjin War, Imjin War, a devastating 7-year conflict that forged a hero whose legacy continues to shape the soul of a nation, to explore not just how he died, but why the very nature of his death has been a subject of enduring fascination and, at times, intense debate. Admiral Yi Sun-sin is not merely a historical figure in Korea, he is a beacon, a moral compass, an emblem of unwavering resilience and patriotic devotion. His name resonates with a power that transcends mere military victory, embodying the spirit of a nation that has repeatedly risen from the ashes of invasion and adversity. For global audiences familiar with figures like Horatio Nelson or Sun Tzu, Yi Sun-sin offers a compelling parallel. Yet his story is uniquely steeped in the complex cultural tapestry of Korea, interwoven with concepts of deep loyalty, profound suffering, and an almost spiritual connection to duty. His strategic brilliance, particularly his innovative use of the iconic turtle ships, remains a marvel of naval warfare, studied and admired worldwide. But even for such a revered figure, history is not always a straightforward narrative, a simple recounting of facts. Often, the human element, the unspoken pressures, and the desire for deeper meaning can lead to alternative interpretations, to whispers of possibilities that challenge the established truth. This exploration is not about diminishing the magnitude of his heroism. Rather, it is about understanding the full spectrum of his human experience, the immense burdens he carried, and the enduring power of narrative in shaping our understanding of history. We will scrutinize the historical records, sift through the accounts, and examine the cultural context that has fueled a lingering question about his final moments. Did Admiral Yi Sun-sin fall gloriously in battle, struck down by an enemy's bullet, a supreme sacrifice for his nation? Or did the unrelenting pressures, the political betrayals, and the profound weariness of a 7-year war lead him to make a final, strategic choice, orchestrating his own heroic end? This is not an easy question, and it is one that requires us to look beyond the armor of the war hero and delve into the heart and mind of the man. This very debate, though often confined to scholarly or popular speculation, reveals the profound emotional connection the Korean people have with their greatest hero. It speaks to a collective desire to understand every facet of his life, even the most poignant and potentially tragic. The story of Admiral Yi Sun-sin is a universal saga of leadership, sacrifice, and the relentless pursuit of justice against overwhelming odds. But it is also a distinctly Korean one, saturated with the complex emotions of Han Hahn, Jeong Jung, and Uiee, which we will explore to truly grasp the depth of his legend. Join us as we navigate the treacherous waters of history, seeking clarity amidst the chaos of war and the enduring power of human narratives. Our journey begins in the Joseon Dynasty, a period of profound cultural flourishing but also intense vulnerability. Established in the late 14th century, Joseon was a kingdom deeply rooted in Confucian ideals, emphasizing loyalty, filial piety, and strict social hierarchies. It was a society that valued scholarly pursuits and civil administration, sometimes at the expense of military preparedness. This imbalance would prove disastrous when, in 1592, the ambitious Japanese warlord Toyotomi Hideyoshi, launched a full-scale invasion of Korea, aiming to conquer China via the Korean peninsula. The Imjin War had begun, plunging Joseon into an unprecedented abyss of chaos and suffering. Admiral Yi Sun-sin was born in 1545 into a family that, despite its aristocratic lineage, had fallen on hard times. His early life was marked by adversity, but he was driven by a keen intellect and a strong sense of justice. Unlike many civil officials, Yi Sun-sin chose a military path, a decision that would prove fateful for his nation. His rise through the ranks was not without struggle. The Joseon court was a viper's nest of political factionalism and jealousy, where personal rivalries often overshadowed national interests. This precarious political environment would haunt Yi Sun-sin throughout his career, casting a long shadow even over his most brilliant achievements. The sheer scale of the Japanese invasion, with its technologically advanced firearms and seasoned samurai armies, quickly overwhelmed Joseon's land forces. The capital, Hansung, modern-day Seoul, fell swiftly, and the royal family was forced to flee north. It was at this critical juncture that the fate of Joseon fell squarely upon its navy, and specifically upon the shoulders of Admiral Yi Sun-sin. His naval genius was almost immediately apparent. Prior to the war, he had meticulously prepared his fleet, developed innovative tactics, and perhaps most famously, championed the construction of the Geobukseon, or turtle ship, an armored warship with cannon ports and a spiked deck, designed to pierce enemy formations and withstand overwhelming attacks. This was not just a ship. It was a symbol of Korean ingenuity and a terrifying harbinger for the Japanese. Yi Sun-sin's victories at sea were nothing short of miraculous. At the Battle of Hansen Island, Hansan, he employed his famous crane wing formation, encircling and annihilating a massive Japanese fleet. Time and again, against numerically superior forces, he secured decisive victories, disrupting Japanese supply lines and preventing their reinforcements from reaching the beleaguered land armies. He became the sole bulwark against total Japanese conquest, a living legend who single-handedly defied the seemingly unstoppable invaders. His string of unbroken victories, however, bred not only admiration but also profound jealousy within the Joseon court. King Sunjo, the monarch during the Imjin War, was a figure often described as indecisive and suspicious, prone to being swayed by his corrupt officials. Yi Sun-sin, a man of uncompromising integrity, repeatedly clashed with these self-serving factions. His refusal to blindly obey politically motivated orders that he deemed strategically unsound, along with his extraordinary popularity, made him a target. In 1597, just when Joseon needed him most, false accusations led to his arrest, torture, and demotion. He was stripped of his rank and forced to serve as a common soldier, a process known as Bqi Jangun, meaning serving in the army in white clothes. This was a profound humiliation for a man who had saved his nation. His replacement, Admiral Won-jaeun, a rival often driven by arrogance and incompetence, led the Joseon Navy to a catastrophic defeat at the Battle of Chilchunliang. Nearly the entire fleet was destroyed, leaving Joseon utterly vulnerable. It was only then, in a moment of utter desperation, that King Seonjo, recognizing his grave error, reluctantly reinstated Yi Sun-sin. With only 12 battered ships and a demoralized crew, he achieved arguably his greatest feat, the Battle of Myeongnyang. Against a Japanese fleet of over 130 ships, he leveraged the treacherous Myeongnyang Strait, using its currents to his advantage, and once again delivered an impossible victory. This was not just a battle, it was a reaffirmation of his divine appointment, a testament to his indomitable spirit, and a source of enduring national pride. Throughout these tumultuous years, Yi Sun-sin meticulously kept a war diary, the Nanjung Ilgi Nanjung Ilgi, meaning war diary. This UNESCO World Heritage Record is an unparalleled window into his mind, his strategic genius, his profound compassion for his men, his personal sorrows, including the death of his youngest son in battle, and his deep-seated Han Hahn, an emotion of unresolved resentment and sorrow stemming from the injustices he endured. Yet even amidst this profound suffering, the diary consistently reveals his unwavering sense of duty, his unshakable patriotism Uguk Chungjeong Uguk Chungyong, and his deep commitment to Jeongseong Yongsung, a meticulous and sincere effort in all his endeavors, combining thorough preparation Yubimuhen Yubimuhwan, wholehearted dedication Jeonsim Jeonryok Junsim Junryuk, and acceptance of fate Jinsa Sadi Chinmyong Jinsa Sadi Chunmayung. It is this diary, a testament to his character, that forms the bedrock of our understanding of his final moments. The year is 1598. The long, brutal Imjin War is finally drawing to a close. Toyotomi Hideyoshi, the Japanese warlord who initiated the invasions, has died, and his forces are in full retreat from the Korean peninsula. Admiral Yi Sun-sin, now leading a combined Joseon and Ming Chinese Dynasty allied fleet, sees this as the final opportunity to completely annihilate the retreating Japanese, preventing any future resurgence. He is resolute, determined to end the war decisively and prevent further suffering for his nation. This final campaign culminates in the Battle of Noryang and Noryang, a name that would forever be etched into the annals of Korean history, not just as a monumental victory, but as the scene of a hero's ultimate sacrifice. The Battle of Noryang Sea Battle, Noryang Haejun, on November 19, 1598, was a maelstrom of fire, steel, and human will. It began under the cover of night, a strategic ambush by the Allied forces against the Japanese fleet attempting to flee. The sea erupted in a violent ballet of cannons roaring, arquebuses spitting fire, and arrows raining down. Joseon turtle ships and Kopanoksun Anus, Panixian large flat-bottomed Korean warships, clashed with Japanese vessels Adakebun Atakebune or Sekibun Seikibune, their crews locked in a desperate struggle. Admiral Yi Sun-sin, ever at the forefront, commanded his fleet from his flagship, his presence a rallying cry, his tactical genius guiding every maneuver. He was an omnipresent force on the battlefield, a beacon of courage amidst the chaos, his resolve unwavering as he directed his men with precision and ferocity. It was in the midst of this ferocious engagement, as victory was beginning to turn in favor of the Allied forces, that tragedy struck. Historical accounts from those present, including his son Yeho Yi Hwei and his nephew Yi Wan, describe the fatal moment. As Admiral Yi, roaring out commands and personally firing arrows, stood bravely on the deck, a stray musket ball, fired from an enemy Japanese ship, pierced his left side, striking him mortally. The chaos of battle could not diminish the gravity of that moment. A hush, a profound silence must have fallen over his immediate surroundings, quickly swallowed by the surrounding din of war. As he fell, gravely wounded, his son and nephew rushed to his side. The implications of his death were immediate and catastrophic. The morale of the Allied forces, already pushed to their limits by years of war, could shatter if news of their commander's demise spread. The Japanese, sensing an advantage, could rally and turn the tide. In his dying breath, with an incredible presence of mind that defied his mortal wound, Admiral Yi Sun-sin uttered his final, legendary command. The battle is at its height. Beat the war drums. Do not let anyone know of my death. These were not the words of a man succumbing to despair, but of a leader, a strategist, whose dedication to his nation superseded his own life, even in its final, fading moments. His nephew, Yi Wan, immediately took command, donning his uncle's armor to maintain the illusion that the admiral was still fighting. The war drums continued to beat, the battle raged on, and the Japanese fleet was eventually routed, suffering a devastating defeat that marked the definitive end of the Imjin War. Only after the victory was secured, after the last Japanese ship had either fled or been destroyed, was Admiral Yi's death revealed. A wave of profound grief swept through the Allied forces, a bittersweet sorrow for a victory dearly bought. His death, in the very act of securing his nation's peace, cemented his legacy as the ultimate heroic martyr. Yet despite this overwhelmingly consistent historical account, a lingering question, a suicide theory, has occasionally surfaced throughout the centuries. Where did this theory originate and why does it persist? The initial and most widely accepted records like the Seonjo Silak Sunjo Sil-lok, the official annals of King Seonjo from the Joseon Dynasty, and the detailed biography written by his nephew, Yi Chungmugong Hingrak Yi Chungmugong Hengrak, all unequivocally state that Yi Sun-sin died from an enemy bullet, Jeonsa Junsa, killed in action. These are contemporary or near-contemporary accounts considered highly reliable. The suicide theory primarily gained traction much later, notably from the writings of Yi Min-seo, a scholar during the Sukjang era in the late 17th or early 18th century, over a century after the war. Yi Min-seo's accounts suggested that Yi Sun-sin, perhaps due to the profound psychological toll of the war, the endless political machinations, and his fraught relationship with King Seonjo, might have deliberately exposed himself to enemy fire, orchestrating his own heroic demise. This interpretation subtly shifts from a tragic battlefield casualty to a choice, a final act of agency by a man who had weathered so much. What fueled this later speculation? The immense pressures Yi Sun-sin faced are undeniable. Years of brutal warfare, the constant threat of invasion, the loss of his son, and perhaps most agonizingly, the repeated political betrayals from his own court, including unjust imprisonment and torture, created a crucible of suffering. Could a man pushed to such limits, even one of unwavering resolve, consider a final, self-determined exit? Some proponents of the suicide theory might argue that for a figure of his stature, a simple death by stray bullet might have felt undignified, or that he wished to avoid the inevitable political purges and accusations that often followed great military leaders after a war, especially one who had so thoroughly eclipsed his monarch. However, this interpretation, while dramatically compelling, struggles against the overwhelming weight of historical evidence and the very essence of Yi Sun-sin's character. His Nanjung Ilgi, his deeply personal war diary, chronicles not despair leading to self-harm, but a relentless commitment to duty, a profound sense of responsibility, Kigimgam, and an unshakable faith in doing his utmost while leaving the outcome to heaven, Jinsasadi Chinmyeong Jinsasadi Chunmayang. His writings, filled with expressions of sorrow, anger, and weariness, consistently revert to his unwavering resolve to protect his nation. There is no hint of a desire to abandon his post or his life, only to fulfill his uiee, his sense of righteousness and moral obligation, to the very end. Furthermore, his final command to conceal his death to maintain troop morale speaks volumes. This was a strategic decision made by a military genius to ensure victory and prevent panic among his already exhausted forces. It was an act of profound selflessness and military acumen, not one of personal despair. A commander choosing suicide in the midst of a critical battle would contradict his strategic brilliance and his profound sense of responsibility for his men. The Jung, the deep emotional bond and affection he shared with his soldiers and their loyalty in carrying out his final wish further underscore this interpretation. They did not mourn a commander who abandoned them, but one who sacrificed himself for their victory. In essence, the suicide theory is a testament to the enduring human fascination with the hidden complexities of great heroes, and perhaps a reflection of a desire for a more tragically profound narrative. But it is a narrative constructed retrospectively, lacking the direct, contemporary evidence that firmly places Admiral Yi Sun-sin in the pantheon of heroes who fell gloriously in the service of their nation. struck down by an enemy's bullet in the crucible of their greatest triumph. He was not a man consumed by despair, but a beacon of hope and resilience until his very last breath, his sacrifice securing the peace of a war-torn nation. Admiral Yi Sun-sin's death, regardless of the precise cause, transcends the mundane. It occurred at the apex of his strategic brilliance during a decisive victory that forever altered the course of Korean history. This is not just a military event, it is a profound philosophical statement, an enduring question about the nature of leadership, sacrifice, and the human spirit under unimaginable duress. What does it truly mean to be a hero, especially when the path to glory is paved with immense personal suffering and political betrayal? For Yi Sun-sin, a man who epitomized UIAA, righteousness and moral obligation, his life was a relentless pursuit of duty. His experiences, meticulously documented in his Nanjung Ilgi Nanjung Ilgi, showcase a figure grappling with profound Han-Hahn, a deep-seated, unresolved sorrow and resentment stemming from the constant political persecution he faced, even as he saved his country. He lost his youngest son during the war, endured torture and imprisonment, and was repeatedly undermined by the very king he served. These are burdens that would crush most individuals, yet Yi Sun-sin consistently rose above them, driven by an almost superhuman sense of patriotism, Uguk Chungjeong Uguk Chungyong. The suicide theory, despite its lack of historical evidence, can be understood as an attempt to grapple with this immense burden. It's a human reaction to the narrative of a man who suffered so much, perhaps seeking a more complete, a more poetic, or even a more tragic explanation for his ultimate end. It speaks to a universal fascination with the psychological toll exacted on leaders in times of extreme crisis. Could a man of such unwavering fortitude, after enduring years of relentless warfare and political treachery, simply be weary of life? This question, though ultimately unsubstantiated by facts, allows us to contemplate the vulnerabilities hidden beneath the armor of greatness. Consider the context of the Joseon court under King Seonjo Sunjo. It was a period rife with factionalism and paranoia, where exceptional success could be a double-edged sword, attracting both admiration and dangerous envy. Yi Sun-sin, with his unparalleled victories, his incorruptible character, and his immense popularity among the populace, undoubtedly overshadowed his king. Could the fear of post-war retribution, or the sheer exhaustion of having to constantly defend against both foreign enemies and internal adversaries, have driven him to a point of profound despair? This political dynamic, though not directly linked to a suicidal act, provides a fertile ground for such speculative narratives to take root centuries later, as historians and storytellers seek to reconcile the hero's fate with the harsh realities of his political environment. The profound impact of his dying command, "Do not let anyone know of my death," underscores his genius not just as a tactician, but as a leader who understood military psychology. His primary concern was the morale of his troops, the successful conclusion of the battle, and the ultimate victory for his nation. This was an act of supreme selflessness, prioritizing the collective over the individual even in his final breath. It showcases his deep Jeong, the profound affection and attachment he felt for his men and his country. To interpret this as a prelude to suicide would fundamentally misrepresent the strategic and selfless nature of his final, heroic act. Admiral Yi Sun-sin remains an unparalleled Seongung Saengung, a sacred hero in modern Korea. His life and death offer timeless lessons in leadership, resilience, and unwavering patriotism. His image is ubiquitous, from the imposing statue in Seoul's Gwanghwamun Square to countless films, dramas, and literary works that continue to captivate audiences both at home and abroad. Films like The Admiral, Roaring Currents, Myeongyang 2014 and Hansen Rising Dragon Hansan Rising Dragon 2022 have brought his strategic genius and profound humanity to a global stage, introducing millions to a figure who embodies the spirit of Korea. His story, particularly the circumstances of his death, continues to be a powerful narrative in K culture. These portrayals, while often adhering to the heroic death narrative, subtly acknowledge the immense pressures he faced, thereby enriching his character and making him more relatable. The debate about his death, even as a minority interpretation, serves as a testament to the enduring human desire to understand the complexities of heroism, the sacrifices demanded by leadership, and the profound impact of individual will on the course of history. It reminds us that behind every legend, there is a human story, filled with both triumph and untold struggle. Ultimately, the historical record overwhelmingly points to Admiral Yi Sun-sin dying a hero's death in battle, struck down by an enemy's bullet in the final, decisive engagement of the Imjin War. The suicide theory, while intriguing from a dramatic perspective, lacks concrete evidence and clashes with the profound sense of duty and strategic genius that defined his entire life. His Nanjung Ilgi, his own voice from the past, speaks not of despair and self-annihilation, but of unwavering commitment to his nation until his very last breath. His death was a culmination, a final, selfless act that secured the peace for his war-torn nation. It was a tragedy, yes, but a tragedy imbued with ultimate purpose, reflecting his profound Yuguk Chungjeong patriotism and his dedication to his Jeong deep affection for his people. He fell as he lived, fighting valiantly, leading decisively, and sacrificing everything for Joseon. His legacy is not just about victories, but about the spirit of resilience, integrity, and uncompromising duty that continues to inspire. What then does this debate about his death truly reveal? It reveals not a flaw in the hero, but a profound empathy from posterity. It shows a collective yearning to understand the full humanity of a man who bore unimaginable burdens. It underscores that even for the greatest of heroes, the line between superhuman resolve and human frailty can be blurred by the crucible of war. But in the end, Admiral Yi Sun-sin stands tall, not as a victim of despair, but as an eternal symbol of sacrifice, his name forever etched in the hearts of Koreans and in the annals of global military history, as a commander who fought until his very last breath, securing a hard-won victory for his homeland. The echoes of his cannons have long faded from the Noryang Strait, but the story of Admiral Yi Sun-sin, a beacon of courage and resilience, continues to inspire generations. His unwavering spirit, his profound strategic genius, and his ultimate sacrifice for his nation remain a powerful testament to the extraordinary strength of the human will. We invite you to delve deeper into this incredible history, to explore the depths of Korean culture, and to reflect on the universal truths embedded in the stories of heroes like Admiral Yi Sun-sin. What lessons do you draw from a life lived with such uncompromising purpose, even unto death?